Yeah. So is it very touching to you to relive it when you take the movie to a new town, to a new place?
It's satisfying when audiences feel like they connect with something we put so much of our lives into. It's fun to feel like you made that human connection.
Yeah, I feel like this movie was so personal in the last year. It was very difficult for me to stop making it and to imagine it coming out. And I was very concerned about how people would feel about it because it's so unconventional, not just the time, but also the choices that Rick made. And I felt like it was a deeply human story, but I didn't know if it would resonate with other people in that way. So it means a lot, especially coming to other countries and seeing this commonality of humanity comes through.
It was very private, too. It felt like our own, this didn't feel like a movie. It felt like just something we were shooting about once a year. We would get together, but there was no expectations, no release date, no distributor, it was like our own private little project all these years.
So what's the genesis of it? What did you originally try to do? Was it a reflection on your own youth, or the youth of your children?
All the above, yeah. I mean, I think I'd been a father for about 6 or 7 years when I was thinking about trying to tell a story about being a kid, growing up, what that was like. But couldn't find the one moment. So I had ideas over the whole process. I wanted to say a lot about not only growing up, but parenting. I realized I needed a big canvas, so I almost gave up on the idea. And then I had this idea, if we filmed a little bit every year, and it was just one movie, the way you would perceive it would be kind of like your own memory of your own life or something. It felt kind of like it would work that way. That was the fun part. I talked to Patricia and Ethan about it. That was the fun part, like how to tell a story in a new way. The not so fun part was trying to get it financed and knowing it would take 12 years to make. But
did you know it was going to be exactly 12 years before you?
Yes, yeah, because in the U.S. the public education is 1st through 12th grade, so it's 12 distinct years out of your life before you can move on to, whatever's next. And as a kid, I thought, you do all this stuff so you can be an adult and then you'll be fixed the rest of your life, But you find out as you get older, it's not so easy.
For an actor also, it must be unique. Of course, this has never been done, but also a big commitment, right? Because you had to promise him to show up every year for a couple of weeks. How was all of that, all the organization of that?
Well, for me, as soon as I heard about the concept or what he was planning on doing, I got so excited by that I could you get your phone?
You could just answer
okay,
it.
Yeah, say hi. Thank you. When he first told me about it, I was so excited by the idea. I just wanted to participate in it however I could, and I never felt like it was a difficult obligation. It was always a big priority for me. I always looked at it like it was something that was enriching my creative self and my personal self, and I looked forward for it, and I was sad it was over every year, and I was happy it was starting again every year. But in America, you can't contractually obligate someone to work more than 7 years, so we all just had to show up, and we had to trust it.
Yeah. There was nobody who said, you like it this year.
No, everybody was really into it. Eller especially, he never wavered. This kid, he was ready to go every year.
That's the man who plays the song, right?
Yeah, Eller Coltrane.
And even when he was little, he would call Rick and say, "Hey, I want to get an earring. Is that cool?"
Yeah, he was very. It was a part. This was a very big priority for all of us working on it, and yet, by its definition, it was sort of a side thing, something we stole every year, given our schedules. So it was a fun little project, this life project.
But how long were you in the editing room?
If you added all the numbers on this, everything about this film is contradictory. You know, it's a low budget, independent, epic. It's a low budget film. We spent 2 years pre-producing and 2 years in editing. You don't usually get that schedule. It's a lot of it makes no sense whatsoever. But it was fun to have that opportunity to have all that thinking time in between every year to keep working on it, to see how making this film was like admitting that you're going to be letting in these unknown elements. Most films you control, it's all about control and bending your reality to your storytelling will. But in this case, it was really giving ourselves over to a kind of predictable but yet random and unpredictable, future of every actor getting a year older, the kids really growing up, and then the culture, and who knows what could happen in the world. So,
I mean, for all we knew, when Eller was 18 in the world of America, he could have been drafted, for all we knew.
Yeah, but who knows? Might have been a different movie. But.
And also what I was asking myself while watching the movie, this is more of in a superficial game, let's say, but the hairstyles of Eller, did you say what he needed to look like next year, or was he surprising you with the hair?
Only one. Eller was full of surprises, as was Lorelai. But the year up that he gets that haircut, that was the one year we told him, hey, you can't cut your hair. So in that scene, which is kind of an awful scene, it feels like an assault, but in reality, and this proves what an actor he is, in reality, he couldn't wait to get his hair cut very short. So don't feel bad.
Okay, so now I would like to open it up to the room. We hebben 2 micro's, dus er worden micro's gebracht naar mensen die een vraag zouden hebben. Dus steek uw hand omhoog en dan kan ik u aanwijzen. On a des micros. Si vous avez une question, attendez pour le micro et puis on y va. And the first question is there. Here, Richard.
Can you talk a bit about casting Coltrane, how that process was, about finding him?
Yeah, that was probably the biggest artistic decision I think I've ever made. Who's going to play this kid? I make jokes like it was like identifying the next Dalai Lama. You put out material and see who they were, if they're the chosen one. I remember staring at him thinking like, are you going to be a cool teenager, or are you going to be one of those, dickhead guys? He was the different thinker. A lot of kid actors, and he was a child actor. Like everyone I interviewed were, they were actors. But he thought different. He was just the different one. He was. A lot of kids have that tendency to want to please adults, and they're smart and precocious and cute, and that a lot of child actors are like that. And he was the opposite of that. He didn't really care much about how he was just himself. He was really cool, and I just thought he was an interesting thinker. And so I remember it being a choice. There was a part of me that kind of was that, athlete and that kind of guy, and then there was a part of me that was the sort of dreamer, future artist. So I kind of remember it was a choice, and it was kind of, I went with the future artist I felt he would be of some kind. So the interesting thinker, the sensitive young man. So that's who he was, and that's who he is.
And did life imaging art? Did you start to feel motherly about him?
Since I was 3, I always said what I wanted to be when I grew up as a mother. So I was very maternal, and the first year I got to spend a lot of time with the kids and made them dinner, and we did art projects.
They spent the night with you.
Yeah,
it was fun.
It was amazing, and kids are honest. So even when you'd be acting in a scene, they'd be like, in between takes, I'm hungry, and you have to address their real needs, and you just bond like that, and they were just incredible. But even from the beginning, Rick was having them contribute. He'd be like, okay, so you guys are fighting in the back of the car. And they're little, and he's like, what are you fighting about? Start fighting, and what would you guys be saying? And do you think you'd have anything in your hand? And later they even contributed so much more complex things, but you sort of taught them from the beginning that they were collaborators.
Yeah, this was just this project. We all brought ourselves to it, so it was a collaboration, the whole way. I felt like The adults, we were collaborating with our parents in a way, we were collaborating with ourselves as parents. The kids it was a kind of wonderfully collaborative and expressive area to, if it's going to be 12 years, it better be subject matter that you will find interesting 12 years later. And the subject matter was kind of life itself, so we never got bored of it. There was nothing to get bored of.